Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where I program Minecraft mods live on camera and watches things go kablooey. First things first though, I did so much efforts on my streaming setup yesterday, so Please tell me y'all can hear me. And only once at that. Because I don't know. Because it was a problem that I could only know if the chat told me whilst I was live. So... yeah. That... not grand. Not grand. Gotta love those kinds of bugs. Anyways. Yeah, so I've updated XSplit, I then uninstalled and reinstalled VAC, which is the thing that controls where all my audio cables are and whatnot, and as far as I know, everything is hunky-dory. And also, as far as I know, we will not be constantly spammed with the word trial said by a comely female voice after about the first half hour of this stream. We'll see. But yes, hopefully that'll be good. Anyways, there was not a stream last week because... okay, well, firstly, I did a bunch of streaming for Christmas and such, Christmassy time, and then I was basically dead because, if you don't remember, I have like 3-ish hours on average of decent cognitive function per day, and after that I'm very tired, or extremely spaced out, or can't actually, like, summon the cognitive function to, like, the executive function to do a thing. So, took a break, seemed like a decent time, end of the year, and then Fuzz and I both, and this was not planned, but it happened, got our booster shots on the 30th. So we've spent the last, like, days getting over that, and mostly it was mostly fine. It was a lot better than my first, like my first vaccination, worse than my second. My first one knocked me out for like a week. It was horrifying. Like, big temperature, significant shivers, like everything ached. It was terrible. Second one, I hardly even noticed I'd been stabbed in the arm, let alone anything else, so bleh. This one, significant aches for a couple of days, and then for whatever reason my arm was very sore. In fact, it was sore, and I still don't know why. It was sore here, on the inside of my arm, the exact opposite side from where it got jabbed. I don't know how that works, but it made a lot of things quite annoying. But rest assured, I have not been idle this entire time. I have been doing a bunch of editing and a bunch of VFX tinkering, and indeed, I have been doing some coding. I had hoped to have the wheelchair mod out by now, but as near as I can tell, there is a couple different problems inside of its build Gradle. This is the thing that tells Eclipse and whatnot how to compile a mod, and as is somewhat typical for Forge, build Gradle isn't documented anywhere. Almost at all. So it's more or less just a matter of running it, finding out what breaks, and then seeing if anybody in the Forge Discord actually knows what the solution is. So that might take a little bit longer. Apologies for that. Otherwise, did a bit of tidying up in VE, but for today we're going back into VO because we're working on Possession, the capacity to take direct control of any mob in existence, except other players. Technically other players are a mob, but no. Okay, so here I am as a creeper. The actual creeper is inside of this pen. We are currently separate visible entities just so I can test things. And if I turn the bounding boxes on, we can see the creepers looking around quite happily. Maybe a bit too happily, I'm not sure that's entirely reaching it, but you can see he's actually like moving around and looking in the right directions. Very good. And if we move, we can maybe see the first thing we're going to be trying to fix up today. Which is that they are moving according to how I'm telling them to move, which is grand, but obviously they're a little, how should I put this? They're a little bit Speedy Gonzales in there. Maybe this will work a little more obviously, if we take control of Kevin. Kevin. Apparently I'm possessing Kevin, but that doesn't look like I'm possessed. Oh, right. That's odd. That's odd because it said I was possessing Kevin, but instead I was possessing Jimmy. Okay, I'm way over here. Why does it keep giving me Jimmy? I'm now quite confused. I have no earthly idea how that's even possible. Huh. Okay, well that's another bug to tick on the list. Thankfully, I have a list. Okay. Fix command targeting, I guess that would be? Yeah. Didn't expect to be doing that today, but apparently I am. But yeah, what I suspect is happening is I basically had to take the code, dear Lord Esper, thank you so much for that. I suspect this will be digging for quite a bit now. But thank you very much for that. Wow. Much obliged. Okay, I basically had to re-implement how horses handled being ridden around and such, and just make that happen for any possessed entity. And that appears to be working to the extent that we can apparently possess only Jimmy at the moment, for some reason. Seems to be working just fine. Except that, quite clearly, it's moving way too quickly. Like, we expect it to be closer to the amount that I'm moving here, but it is clearly considerably more. And the reason for that, I suspect, is that mobs are actually frequently much faster than players. So, if we have a look at player entity, we can find out exactly what the speed is. So movement speed for players defaults to 0.1 F. Don't worry about what the F means. For the creeper, conversely, the movement speed is 0.25. So they are more than twice as fast as you. And the reason that this does not frequently become a problem, the reason that mobs don't just chase you down like a dog, is because their AI part actually controls what fraction of their total speed they're allowed to use. So, if we happen to have a look at, say, the random walking goal, it has a 0.8 value. That is the percentage of its actual movement speed that it's allowed to use whilst it's walking around. There is also the melee attack goal, which does similarly with the 1.0, and there might be some actual, like, conversion between float and double that comes in, like, handy here, but for the most part, I believe that this is why that's all happening. So, let's presume that while you're not currently sprinting as a possessed mob, you want to be moving around at minimum, the speed of a player. So 0.1 over 0.25 is 40%. Otherwise known as a creeper wandering around will catch up with you unless you're sprinting, I think. Might be worth actually checking the Minecraft wiki for this, just to see what their actual, if their actual speeds are listed. Yeah.
Nose boops for everyone, 'cause it's my B-day.
Oh. Love a good B-day. But also very thank you for that, Esper. That's extremely generous of you. Okay, let's check Creeper. See if it lists their movement speed in here. It does not. Chase any player within 16 blocks. No mention of speed. Okay. Detection range of creepers is reduced by 50% when the player is running a creeper head. I wish that was actually an exposed value. Isn't, but oh well. Okay. Let's see here. So, where is... This is the wrong thing. There. Okay. Walking on flat terrain for the player is 4.317 meters per second. A meter being a block. So, let's apply a 0.4 multiplier to our movement, and hopefully, that will be at least the beginning of what we're getting here. So here's the code that actually handles things like jumping, which we don't currently handle, things like motion, rotation, that sort of thing. But okay. Set the movement speed to that times 0.4d. Let's presume and hope that that will work. Who knows? So what we're looking for is that when we're moving around whilst possessing Jimmy, which is a weird sentence in and of itself, that Jimmy only moves an equivalent amount of distance to the same we do. If Jimmy's moving faster than that, then we need to increase this value. Probably would help not if this value is going to be based on like that looks good to me. Okay. So next question. Everything else is going to have different values. So 0.4%, well, 40%, we'll say, works just fine for the creeper, but it might not work for the husk over there, or it might not work for the giant crab, or the pillager, or the enderman, that kind of thing. Anything else is going to have different values. So, we need to effectively be able to check what the base value is of a mob in order to... Let's see if I just stand here. Yep, that looks perfect. In order to know what the value should be so that it's player speed when they're not sprinting. And then we need to implement sprinting. Which will be entertaining, I'm sure. Okay. So, we can actually apply that at the living data level. So if we are being possessed, do we have a handle possession? I don't know. We did, and then I believe I removed it because it wasn't actually doing anything for a fair bit. Whoops. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Health, air, there we go. Okay, so check if possessor is sprinting. If not, regulate speed attribute. fairly straightforward, at least. So we need the attribute modifier. Movement speed should exist on basically everything that you can actually, oh, is it modifiable attribute instance, I think is what it's called. Now. Yep. Okay. If speed equals null, just on the off chance. I should also check if entity equals null or entity is dead. Then we don't need to worry about that. Okay. For the moment, we'll assume that we're never sprinting, because we don't have the actual function to store that value. So, double base value is that. So, our walking, I guess, equals 0.1 over base value. Okay. And now I'm going to need a little thing called a UUID. Because I need that, basically. It's about as close to a unique value as you're likely to find inside of programming. It's sprinting. And Juliet has debuff, I guess this would qualify as. I hate that I can remove by UUID, but I can only get by attribute modifier. Kind of annoying, but I can get the modifier with UUID, so I guess that's something. So let's see. Test. I guess we'll call that. And we'll store that way up here. That's go. Where's it? Obsession. There you are. Okay, so if is sprinting does not equal has debuff. If is sprinting, then speed attribute remove modifier. That one. Otherwise, if we're not, we need to apply that debuff. So that would be speed attribute. We'll call it a persistent modifier, and that would be new attribute modifier. Walking. Multiply base by the value walking. Have I gotten those orders wrong? Name. Oh, it's a UUID name amount operation. Why? Who knows? Makes hardly any sense that it would be like that, but there. Okay, and this is about the only point that we actually need to know what that value is. Okay. Chuck that into our tick handler, and it should be good to go. Assuming I don't drop it somewhere where it can exit out early. There is one more thing that we need to theoretically account for, and that is to remove this entirely if we are not being possessed currently. So let's see. We wanted to say either we're possessed and not sprinting, or either we're possessed and sprinting, in which case remove it, or we're not possessed. Did I call that one? There's so many functions here. There. Okay. So, yep, we can get rid of it there. So that should mean that now we are still once again back to walking at a reasonable pace, but not the max pace of an actual moving creeper. So, somewhat anticlimactically, what we're expecting to see here is no different to what we started with. But okay. So, if I start about here and I move directly to the right, then Jimmy here should keep pace with me. That does not appear to be the case, because Jimmy is being moved very rapidly. Actually, Jimmy might be moving even faster than before, which is interesting. Let's put some sysouts in here and see what we can get. So, if we're sprinting, but we don't have that... Oh, hang on, this is applied based on... I'm trying to think here. Is there a thing I'm overlooking here? Possibly. Can't be null, must be alive. I think it's good. Does it not know it's being possessed? Is that maybe it? If you're curious, the reason that we're doing it this way is A, makes it harder to distinguish which mob is being possessed by a player and which isn't, which is kind of the ideal here. It should be entirely possible for a presumably admin or whatever to possess a mob and not be noticed by the players. Secondly, it makes things easier for players that are actually doing the controlling part because they'll move according to the amount that they expect to move. And then when they want to be speedy, they'll get speedy. Okay, I'm seeing removed attribute walking. I'm seeing that a lot, actually. Okay, so it's not applying the modifier, because it thinks we're not currently possessed. Why? Why does it think we're not currently being possessed? It shouldn't have the modifier, and this should pretty much only ever be true according to is being possessed, so at least we aren't just seeing it get cold, which is good. But okay. Oh, hang on. What have I got wrong here? We can only be sprinting if we are being possessed. And tertiary secondary value, which is check if we've engaged sprinting for the moment. Okay. If we are not being possessed, then we just straight up remove that value. That's probably easier to do. We're not being possessed, and we have that modifier, I guess is the next qualifier. So if we're not sprinting, and we don't have the... Oh, that's... Actually, that could be it. These might be backwards. If we're not sprinting, then we need to have the modifier. If we are sprinting, we need to not have the modifier. Okay. Maybe that was the problem. Who knows? Step after this is to effectively swap out your abilities from your species for all the abilities, or at least the majority of abilities, from the creature you're possessing. So in the case of Jimmy, that ability would be pretty exclusively Explode. So you should be able to possess a creeper and ignite it. That might not look exactly like igniting, but and once again, Jimmy doesn't think he's being possessed. Let's see if I can remind him of that. No, okay. Interesting. Why are your V's changing to C's? They are right next to each other on a QWERTY keyboard, that could be it. Just gonna add this caveat to our sysouts so we can actually see a bit clearer. only be getting alerts from Jimmy. But okay, so is being possessed is returning not true. Why? Because if it was genuinely not true, then Jimmy wouldn't be moving around, wouldn't be responding to us. So what's going wrong there? I'm guessing it's because, from what I can see here, possession isn't. Oh no, it is right there. Okay, yeah, it is being serialized and deserialized, which means it is being stored in the data that's being shot over to the client so they know what's going on. Okay. Let's do a check for what side we're on. Hey, Nick. Maybe that'll clear things up a little bit. So now we know that the only things we'll be getting alerts about this from are Jimmy, because we're only checking for creepers. And we should only get it on the server side as well. Okay. So yeah, Jimmy's still moving much faster. I notice we're not getting anything in here. Which would suggest that this isn't even being called. Which seems implausible, to say the least. Hang on, not being possessed, full speed. Applied walking attribute modifier. Okay. So that is happening on the server. And yes, the speed that Jimmy is moving around here suggests otherwise. Like, look at that. Practically pinball. Do I have the value wrong here? Because that might be an additive, and I have to give it as a negative. Oh boy. Let's see. Monsters, zombies, baby speed boost. 0.5. That is an increase, so I need to multiply this by 1 minus, or just that minus 1, I guess. That could be why he seemed to be moving faster. Okay. God, that'd be weird. You possess a mob and suddenly it's moving, it's walking faster. This will still be affected by anything that will increase speed, including speed potions, but it'll mean that you're walking around at a rate you're more familiar with. Given that players are the only things that can possess creatures, we want to make sure it's fairly player-friendly. Possess. Repossess. That looks good. There's a little bit of a delay, but once they get moving, they are fairly responsive. So that's not too bad of a thing. Okay. So... take out these scissors and tidy this up. There's a lot of tidying up to be done with possession. I'm not gonna lie, I have a packet over here that literally doesn't even have a declaration because I never got to that point. But you know, tidying up's still nice, still good. Okay, do I need to worry about it being client or server side? Probably not. It's probably fine. As long as it's as long as it's on the server, that's more or less the only side we need to care about for this. Making your screen do the FOV shift when you get faster is probably gonna be nice and helpful for players, but for this exact point, it's okay. Alright, so next thing, I believe this will be in the Minecraft mix-in. Because we need to check the keys. Because somewhere in here is the key for... is the key for activating abilities. That might be under client, come to think of it. Yep, right there. So handle input events. Somewhere this gets called. And we need to make sure that it is actually useful when you're possessing something. At a guess, it's currently being broken by is player soul detached. Check condition. Nope, just checking if your soul is alive, which I'm pretty sure it is when you're possessing something. That's the best guess I have there. So it might just be it's not firing at all. Logically, to a degree, I should just be using breakpoints for this, but I don't know, I'm used to using sysadds. And on a system as relatively small as this, it's kind of okay. Is it actually firing? Whoop. There was a problem there, which is that, I'm gonna take a wild guess. Player was null. Yep. No player. Okay. Right. I'll fix that up during the break and I'll be back in about 10 minutes. See you then. Welcome back, everybody. Hope we had a nice little break there. So, before we left off, we managed to make it so that our creeper no longer moves at ludicrous speed, plaid, I guess we'll call it, and we are currently working to get access to our creeper's abilities whilst possessing them. I have a sneaking suspicion that the reason we're not able to use the key for this is that this happens and breaks out of this, but then that should also it's suffice to say that that should cause the whole thing to be weird. If that is the case, then as I am clicking the keys, we should see nothing happening. We should in fact see a message there saying basically nothing is happening. Oh, thanks for that, Am. Curls to the left of me and curls to the right. Okay, right. Let me see. So, let's see. That is 2.5 kilogram on the left. And the 5 on the right. Oh boy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Much easier to do this one. Okay, so down here we should expect to see basically nothing happen. Basically. Okay, so checking keys, good. But if I hit the V, which memory serves is the key that I'm thinking of, let's see, controls. Activated ultimate. V. Okay. There's a 4. Do I even have any? I've just realized I think I should have 2. I think I have dark vision and scent. But yeah, so that's not opening. That is, just happily. Okay, we are checking the keys when I'm touching that, so the event is happening. Okay. So we know it's not getting cut off by the mix-in over here. Let's plug you away right here. Get rid of you. Don't need you, definitely don't need you. Horse, creeper, living data. Okay. So. Move this to there, and see if it still happens, in which case we know the fault is somewhere along here. Best guess, here. But we should be able to access our abilities. Or at least some abilities. So what do we see in the background? Neo. Okay. So it is caused somewhere inside of this line. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's is player soul detached. Which is check condition, not currently alive. We currently are alive. We just don't have a body. Ish. So, is player soul detached and not possessing something, I guess? Should sort that out. I don't have a thing for that. You'd think I would. Public Boolean is possessing, is right there. Why, what was your problem? Ah, because I'm calling it, it's the general as opposed to that thing. Okay, player data.for player, that one. There. That should get the ability menu back. Fingers crossed. Okay, here we are. Yep, Jimmy's still following our motion. And ability menu back. Good. Okay. Next thing. When we get our abilities, we need to not factor in our abilities, or at least the majority of them. We need to be factoring in the abilities of the creature we're possessing. I don't think that means much for Jimmy, because I don't think we have a default creeper species. Let's see. We probably should get the command targeting fixed up. Whilst I'm getting suitably... What's the phrase here? Whilst I'm getting suitably distracted. So let's see. We're somehow getting the look target, and for whatever reason, that's just always the creeper. 10 end. I wonder if it's that. No, that doesn't seem to be a problem at all. Their bounding box contains the vector of that. Yes, which is the point of them at that in that direction, at that distance. Okay. This should be fine. We can probably fix up the head position a little bit. Because that should just be equal to X, Z, and Y adjusted for the eye. We hope. Okay. Let's add a check here. Flashback to special creepers who turn invisible. Ah, yeah. Aranus dungeon on Spring Homes. There's a memory. That was one of the iterations of my private patron server, where I basically reproduced a whole ton of RPG mechanics and such, purely using command blocks. It was pretty sweet. It was a lot of work. An overwhelming lot of work in the end, but good fun. Okay. Depossess. So there's Kevin. Checking mob Kevin. Didn't even check Jimmy. Why do I keep getting Jimmy'd when I'm trying to get Kevin? What's going on here? The only mob it checked was Kevin. I don't understand how we keep getting Jimmy. Why, how do we still, how do we get that? Logically, the only thing we should be checking with here is, like, that. now, you are literally the only thing that I could be looking at. And now we appear to have gotten it. Okay, targeted mob, Kevin, type, husk. Good. Yep, get back here. Now I'm apparently possessing Kevin, except Kevin is still moving around of his own accord. This makes so little sense. How? I really don't know how it's getting mixed up. How I'm saying to possess Jimmy, but somehow ending up at Kevin. Jimmy's not, like... Kevin's not even the closest mob that it could be now. This is really weird. It's gotta be something client-side. At a guess. That's about the only thing that makes any sense to me. Let's see, this happens... I think for the most part this happens client. This happens server side. Oh, we don't have the look vector? Oh, because it's up here. Right, yes. Vector 3D. Is look vector different to get look? Because both of them exist, and I'm sure there's actually probably zero reason for it, but let's have a look. Interpolated look vector, apparently. Well, we have a bunch of stuff in here for that. Okay. That just basically does a bunch of the calculation for us so that we don't need to worry, because anything that comes out of here can be seen and can, does have a meeting with its bounding box. Actually, I can probably do that a bit better. Yeah, that might be something to do. position to where the eyes end. Does that actually stop there at all? What is your problem? Ah, I need impulse. That's why. There. Right. So that just checks if their bounding box actually intersects your look position and direction, effectively. Meaning that we're no longer drawing from your eyes based on the distance of your feet. It's a weird one, but take what you get, I guess. I don't think that'll fix that. But who knows? Maybe. What it feels like is that we're setting it client and server side, but the client and the server somehow have different values. I could presume, knowing that the people using this command are going to be players, that there is another route that we can go. So let's see, player. No, doesn't much look like it. There is a value in Minecraft to say what entity you're currently looking at, but not a bunch. You can do both. Look, that value is purely client-side. Which I guess is fair, it kind of only needs to be client-side, but yeah. Okay. Let's quickly throw together a creeper species, which I probably already have somewhere. I'd be surprised if I didn't. Yes, creeper, right there. Okay. I'm just gonna change that to Minecraft creeper. Anything else down here? No. Okay. Run the data generation on that. And there is a problem, which is, I believe, a fault of the fact that I changed up the version of Forge we're using in this workspace a bit ago. Yay. Because I definitely saw this as well when I was working on wheelchairs. Problem being, it happens in the Gradle somewhere, and I don't know what it is. But okay, that's fine. I can leave that for at least the moment. Go with Varrod Creeper. I just want to quickly set Jimmy to actually have the Creeper species. Which I should be able to do with commands. Not 100%, but we'll see. Okay, so species gets you. Jimmy has no known species. Member of the creeper species. Good. Okay. So now, you have actual abilities, I think. So, let's see. Yep, you have the explosion ability. Good. Perfect. So now when we actually hit our button to get our abilities, we want to... Let's see, abilities... There. When we get the abilities, we want to check if we're possessing somebody. And if we are, we want to check their abilities instead of ours. Mostly. There's a bit of merging to go on. Okay. Let's see, there's the hypes. The living data, that's your custom abilities. Any templates? Again, we want... If we're doing it by templates, we also want to be... I'm trying to think, there's a lot to think of here. We need to get a map of the abilities of the possessed creature selectively, no, not all of them. And then we want to merge... Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Okay. I'm trying to think, what exactly is the... What are we going for? Coding is wild? Yeah. The annoying thing is, there's not a whole ton of documentation, at least in 3.5e, for what abilities you actually have access to when possessing something. The hallmark spell for doing it is called Magic Jar here. And effectively, you just put your soul in a bottle, and when somebody comes near that bottle, you can swap your soul in the bottle with their soul, taking over their body in the process. Basic possession. Level 5, like 5th level spell, but basic possession. And what it says is you keep your intelligence, wisdom, charisma, level, class, base attack bonus, base save bonuses, alignment, and mental abilities. Generally meaning spells and such. The body retains its strength, dexterity, constitution, hit points, natural abilities, and automatic abilities. Nowhere defines what a natural or automatic ability is. So,
a new challenger approaches.
Who knows what that could possibly mean? You can't choose to activate the body's extraordinary or supernatural abilities, but at least to me, those feel like the ones you'd be most likely to be able to have access to. Like, an extraordinary ability is something like regeneration, which is just passive, it's just always active. I guess by that notion you don't actually need to activate it, but still. The creature's spells and spell-like abilities do not stay with the body. Which basically means you have nothing? No supernatural. You can't activate extraordinary or supernatural, and you don't keep the spell-like abilities. So that's all 3 categories of abilities. Which case, what is the point of like doing this other than to like, I don't know, sneak by a guard or something? But then you just got this guard. You've got this guard bod going, and you've also got a guard soul in a jar. So yeah, I think D&D Beyond has the 5th edition versions because in 3.5, ghosts can do what's called a malevolence, where they enter into a body. No benefit is to this whatsoever is described, but apparently they can enter into a body. Vanishing inside of it is the exact description, I think. But in 5e, they actually can possess things. So if we check that... Down here, we have possession. which is effectively the ghost disappears and the target incapacitated loses control of its body. The ghost now controls the body but doesn't deprive the target of awareness, which is a horrifying sentence. The ghost can't be targeted by any attack, spell, or effects, yada yada. Retains its alignment, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and immunity to being charmed and frightened. It always uses the possessed target statistics, but doesn't gain access to their knowledge, class features, or proficiencies. Doesn't mention what abilities of the host creature they can actually use. Presumably, by it otherwise uses the possessed target statistics, it can use some abilities. Anyways, let's try and figure this out. So, we have the cached abilities, which is what you had a while back, effectively, and it is mostly here just so we don't have to keep going through and generating everything all over and over and over and over. Then we have the current abilities, which is used whenever we are updating the cache. In short. So... there is our entity. So we need to find out if we have another entity. Is that a living entity? Yes, okay. Call it the body, I guess. And... there. Okay. So, from our creature type, we want to be using the body entity. For our species, we also want to be using the body. For the custom ones, we want to be using the soul, I think. This is just what I'm going with for the moment, at the least. Okay, so you get the bodies, species and templates and creature types, and then you get the souls, custom abilities. So far, so good. Now, we need to determine if, in fact, there is a separation here, or if these are, in fact, the same thing. So, that would be if this.entity.type player, because again, players are the only ones that can actually possess. So then that would be body entity equals player data, get the possessed. There. Okay. So we'll still have our custom abilities. In our case, that would just be our dark vision and our scent, but we should get the abilities of the possessed creature. I don't know if those are synchronized. I'm fairly certain they are. But... next thing. Need to mark for recache. Let's see. Clear custom abilities, deserialize MPT, remove custom abilities. Learn data can do it as well. trying to think. We could go with when the possessor, the possessee, the UID changes in player data. We could reboot that. Mark the abilities for recache there. In which case, living data for entity. This dot player. Mark for recache. Okay, that's a start. Okay. Let's see if we can see the abilities of Jimmy. Oh, we had a problem. Null pointer. In here, okay. And deserialize, apparently. Yeah. So how was everyone's New Year? Well, hope you had fun. We were surrounded on almost all sides by loud explosions, and then we did our annual screaming into the night sky out of a window. No one else joined in this time, but they might have been a bit distracted by the fireworks. Okay. So, our abilities, Dark Vision and Sense. Correctly possessing Jimmy. And we have access to Jimmy's explosion ability. Nice. We also have all of the abilities related to Jimmy's stats here. These are all Jimmy's abilities, not ours. Okay. So, vulnerable to fire damage, because plant. Strength, -4. Immune to critical hits. Immune to transmutation spells. Immune to poison, paralysis, and enchantment spells. That top one probably is relevant if you're trying to possess a creature, just by the by. But right now, we're just doing this in commands, so it's fine. Okay. I probably need to make our ability HUD actually show up if we're possessing something then. You may have missed it due to sleeping for work the next day. That's fair. Okay, let's see. GUI. Ability menu. So what, or rather where is this, well actually no, this isn't the thing I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is GUI handler, I think. Yes, draw favorited abilities. So if the player is not a spectator and they're alive and their their soul is not detached, then draw the favorite abilities. But clearly, that's not entirely true. I do remember wishing Discord Happy New Year, new in Discord, yeah. I think I remember that. Okay. So... is it because the ability gets cancelled? Is that it? I can only presume it's that. Player's soul is not detached. I mean, it isn't in this case, so that's no problem. Should mean it all goes just fine. So then it's probably something in the Minecraft mixer. Or the client renderer mixer, whatever it is. Active render info? Nope. Mixing client? No. Render manager? No. In-game GUI. There you are. Okay, body condition is not a problem here. If player is normal function. I guess it's that. I'm gonna bet it's that. Okay. So, let's put a sys out in here. This is going to spam my console like you wouldn't believe. But hey, progress. We can now move around at a fairly regular, normal kind of speed. And we can even see what abilities our possessed creature has. That's pretty good. Yeah, what I think I'll do is I'll make it that creatures by default try to assign themselves a species that has the same registry name as their creature. Like, so Minecraft Creeper, Minecraft Husk, that kind of thing. And then, we don't have to assign species to anything. If we just have a species of the right registry name, then it'll just automatically be counted as theirs. Hence why I tried to change Creeper there to Minecraft Creeper. And failed, but, you know, immaterial. Okay. So far this we are rendering the ability HUD, or at least we're getting to the part of the code that would render the ability HUD, so that's progress. That's good. So why do we not see the abilities in the top left there? Is not spectator, is alive, is player's soul not detached. We should be set to alive on both counts. Curtail HUD when abnormal. Where's that called? Strangely, after the ability overlay. When it's not normal function and is not creative or spectator, then we should say and is not possessing. We'll leave out the get abilities part. Okay. There's a little bit more to it than that we'll want to do later on, like when we're adding an actual inventory to our possessed mobs, but for right now, that's what we do. The next step is actually adding sprint handling, so that we can actually make our mobs sprint. Well, that and jumping. Most mobs don't actually have a concept of jumping, believe it or not. so we're still not drawing it. Crosshairs is an exception. So let's check. Not player soul detached. What does the command set it to? Set it to roaming. Ah, that'll be why. Okay. Can I get this done just before my next break? Okay, so I can just get rid of that for the moment, I think. It is worth noting that if you favourite an ability of your host body, and then stop possessing them, such as maybe they die because you invoked their explosion ability, it will be removed from your favourites. Because you don't have that ability. That is normal. That is to be expected. Okay, we not only have our abilities, but you'll notice in that top left, we do actually have an extra slot now because we can favorite explosion. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, let's do some filtering. Because we shouldn't be getting... The exact abilities that we've currently got aren't ones we should actually have in our actually have. Where is current abilities? There you are. So, as stated, there is a number that we should be getting here. So we should be mostly getting the spell-like abilities from the soul, and then we should be getting the most supernatural and definitely all of the extraordinaries from the body. If these are the same thing, then it's fairly straightforward. If they're not, then it's not. So, theoretically, what we should do is just create a streamlined private function here that just gets all of the abilities from a given entity and then some specific kind of parsing for them. So, private static map of resource location to ability. Hey, nope. Hope you had a nice Christmas and a Happy New Year. We are currently programming getting the abilities of whatever mob you are actively assuming direct control of. Okay. So we have one map for body. sticks? Oh yes, sticks. So I'll be back in about 10 minutes to finish this off, hopefully. So, yeah. welcome back everybody to the final hour of our evening tonight, and we have made great strides. Well, technically we started with great strides, we've now made smaller strides, but significant developments indeed. So, the first thing that we did tonight was that we sorted out making it so that mobs move at about player speed, unless you tell them to sprint, which we haven't implemented yet, so nonetheless, but it means that when you control a mob, it's going to move at a speed that you're familiar with, but we still have the option of making it go much faster should you need it. Then, we changed it up so that when you are possessing a creature that has abilities per our ability system, you are able to use the abilities of the possessed creature. Meaning, if you possess a creeper, for instance, you're able to actually cause it to explode, which I imagine a lot of people would kind of be anticipating and expect to have anyways. So, from there, we have now moved an extra step so that you only get some of the abilities of the creature. So, I'm not entirely certain how and where to draw this line, because basically very little of D&D rules actually says what you can use and what you can't. The clearest demarcation is class abilities, which is to say, if you possess a wizard, you can't cast their spells. If you possess a monk, you somehow don't have inner peace, that kind of thing. We don't actually have a class system yet, so that is completely irrelevant to us. The line that I'm drawing right now is that when you are possessing a creature, you can use your spell-like abilities and their supernatural and extraordinary abilities. This means that if you possess an Enderman, you should still be able to teleport, for instance. Because, of course, why else would you possess an Enderman? That kind of thing. This is a really, really broad definition right now. I might add something a bit more fine-tuning down the line, but for the moment, it's what we got. For instance, I might just add a data value to abilities to say, hey, this is something that a possessor can use, that kind of thing. Like, innate versus learned, body or soul, I guess, I don't know. But hopefully, this should handle it. So if the body entity and the soul entity are the same person, then we just get the entity abilities, which is basically what we were doing before. If they are separate, on the other hand, we remove all the spell-like abilities from the body's abilities, and we remove anything but the spell-like abilities from the soul's abilities, add those to one map, and plug them together. This should now mean that when we are possessing Jimmy the Creeper, we no longer have our scent and our dark vision abilities, but we do have their explode ability. Should being the operative word, I'm fairly certain that I've typed those correctly. And if indeed that is the case, then the next thing that we're doing is, and I hope I can get this done in under an hour, the ability to sprint, so that we can actually make Jimmy move faster. Possession is moving. It's close to, like, being, I'm not gonna say complete, but it is very close to function. It is very close to useful. And we had a problem. What was the problem? Was that concurrent modification? It was concurrent modification. Okay. Can I copy that? Clone? No? Okay. Let's just rename these real quick. of a faff. Meh. Most things in life are, honestly. Now, because by the way I've delineated this, we shouldn't have any cases of overlap. If there is a possibility, at least in D&D as far as I can see, that you might have an ability that something you're possessing also has, in which case we have the question of who gets precedent. Like, do we somehow define that this is a this is the soul ability, so it should therefore take precedent, or is this a body that an ability more closely tied to the body? In which case, does that take precedent? If two things of the same race are like one is possessing the other, whose abilities are in function? That kind of thing. Like it's complex. This is how I'm delineating it for right now, at the very least. But theoretically, we could get very custom down the road. Yeah, that should do just fine. Okay, run it. For right now, because we're using the actual nature of the abilities, and we're only allowing one kind and the other two in the other, it should be impossible to have an overlap. Also, I feel like it goes without saying that when we eventually get to the point of like class abilities and such, that spells are like accessing your like prepared spells is a spell-like ability. I hope that goes without saying, but you never know. At that point, I'll probably just add a boolean to say, do we include the class abilities here? Oh, we still have a problem. What happened? Oh, is it still concurrence? Oh, it is still concurrent. Okay. Interesting. Right. I just want to create a utility function for this. I feel like I do. I feel like I should just create a holder object called ability map at some point, but this is what we got so far. Can I be a bit better about this? Can I do this without not really. Can I make it at least a smaller loop each iteration? That's the next question. Me. This is me putting on my slightly anal kind of programmer attitude, but yeah. But I won't be able to do that from inside this loop entirely. Time it loops through, it gets all the ones that are given type and removes all the ones it finds from the input map.
Brought levity to each other's lives.
Okay.
But there's a lot more to life than that, and I realized that in these last few years. And we just became very different. And so we had nothing in common overnight. It's very strange.
So that should just be that. And that should be that and that. There. Merge them all into one spot and should be good. Now we shouldn't have any concurrent modification exception. Hopefully. I say that, I'll boot this again and it'll do it immediately, but... yeah, we shouldn't have any cross like that. It should be good. There is a question, a pretty complex question of what to do when these maps both have a shared ability of the same registry name, or the same map name rather. But again, it shouldn't ever happen. Okay. We have one ability. It is Explosion, as one might expect. We depossess. We now have our abilities, Scent and Dark Vision, because these are extraordinary abilities. And hence, we can't use them if we're currently possessing Jimmy. This does have a little bit of a cost of faff, in that every time that you depossess something, if you had your favorited abilities set up, you'll have to reset them up. I don't think that's a huge problem, personally. I probably should include your custom abilities, though. I feel like that's a given. You should be able to keep your custom abilities. But that's a little bit more complicated to add, currently. Right now this works, I think. I think this works okay. Okay, so, next. Sprinting. How do we tell the server that any random mob is now sprinting? And then tell them to stop sprinting? The obvious thing is that we check our movement input mixer And let's see, sneaking, move strength, forward key, inputs. No, that's not going to do it at all, now is it? There is of course just a key that makes you sprint, but there's also the function of just clicking the same movement button in rapid succession. And okay. Living entity, I believe, has a set sprinting. So there's sprinting speed boost ID. Okay. Set sprinting. Where does that get called? Client player entity. Okay. Where does that get called? Living tick. Is using spring. Food level is greater than 6, which is to say 3 haunches. Blindness is not active. I really wish they would take out the blindness part of this. Personally, my view is that blind people can absolutely sprint. It's not necessarily a good idea for them, but they should be able to sprint. But I'm also, like, I have heavily overhauled what blindness looks like. So that's probably more a point of personal preference than anything else. Like, blindness in Minecraft doesn't look like blindness to me. It looks like walking around in a dark room with a candle. That's what it looks like to me, that's it. You can't see more than like 3-4 blocks in front of you, and you can't sprint for some reason, despite the fact that you clearly can see where your feet are going. But also, mobs that are blind don't get affected by it. It's not an effect they care about, which is kind of meh. My blindness is far more immersive, which is to say terrifying. Okay, so if all living entities have a set sprinting, then we can have an internal value check when set sprinting gets called. We can then set that value to true, run it through this. Whenever our check for whether or not we are currently able to sprint disagrees with the status of that value, we call set sprinting false. We shouldn't need to change that under most circumstances, I think. The only thing that concerns me is attacking a creature whilst you're sprinting, generally speaking, stops you sprinting. Didn't used to be that way, by the by. Drive-by sprinting attacks were fairly commonplace. I don't think it'll be a huge concern, though, because this is currently on player attack target rather than what our entities will be. And I don't think anything is going to override this. Maybe it will. I don't know. Let's check Ocelots, which I presume is now... No. Okay. Ocelots do have a thing of whether they are currently sprinting, so let's see if we can find it. Not actually seeing anything related to it in here. Yeah, set sprinting right there. It gets called by the Ocelot's update AI tasks function, which shouldn't be a problem because I'm pretty sure that gets turned off by being possessed. So, okay. If we go to the mob entity mixin, should hopefully be able to add a Boolean value. Does it get cold anymore? I don't think so. No. Probably because it's used down here. Okay. Private Boolean is possessed sprinting. Default false. Okay. Now we need to go into the... we need to go into the tick, but if we go into the tick of the mob entity, then it'll be a little weird. I think, because I don't think they actually have their own distinct tick part. They do go to base tick, which is probably close enough. They do have their own tick. Good. Okay, do they declare living tick, perchance? Not seeing it. Nope, there they go. Okay, they do have living tick. Good. As long as they declare it, we can hack into it. And since we have that down here where we were checking, our is sprinting literally will just boil down to is the entity sprinting. Although I think, yeah, that checks a flag which comes from set sprinting in entity, but that's called by the that's a super call made by the living entity, so that's probably fine. Probably. Does occur to me that this is going to mean that our creepers are going to run extra speedily. But that's a hurdle that we'll have to get over when we come to it. Anyways. How do we determine that we should be sprinting here? Check there, and into the travel function. Oh, actually, there's a point. Where's the living entity next in? Somewhere inside of the horse is the determination for whether it should be sprinting, like in a full gallop. I think. Not 100% certain, come to think of it. What is the thing? Oh. Is there literally any mob that your controls control the sprinting of? I'm suddenly not certain. I think horses always move at the same speed. And I think boats, looking similarly, is looking like they do actually go into sprint because your FOV changes is an optical illusion. Let's find out, see if there's anything in here. Mobs that can sprint. Ocelots, cats, iron golems, wheel skeletons, witches, wandering traders, endermen, villagers, vindicators, evokers, and pillagers. I wonder what determines that exactly. There is no mention of this affecting... Firstly, I note that none of these include boats or horses or any kind of mount, actually. Secondly, I don't see a mention here. Yeah, so I actually don't think I don't think the server knows when you're actually sprinting. Oh, that one. Yeah. Welcome to. Well, I do have adblock, but Minecraft's wiki apparently is not affected. But to answer that young woman's question, a lot of hormones. A lot of hormones. Okay, so if the server doesn't know when a mounted player is trying to sprint, then it's probably not transmitted. But let's see, nonetheless. There was somebody I banned earlier tonight, accused me of being super straight, which is, I feel, firstly, kind of odd, but also, I'm wearing a freaking rainbow. Super straight, if you're not aware, and you're probably better off not, is people who are... This logic makes no sense, but so straight that they only date cis people. Otherwise known as transphobes, suffice to say. Right, so... if... this works, and I'm not saying it will, but if it does, then that shortens our problems here quite a bit. Otherwise, we'll have to detect the conditions that cause you to go into sprint mode, and basically send a packet to the server to tell the mob to sprint or not sprint. People who are unaware, the hate raids of last year, yesteryear, I guess quite literally, still happening, unfortunately. Okay. Jimmy, I require your flesh. Okay, so we are detecting that. My only concern is we're not necessarily going to know it once we start actually placing the player where Jimmy is again. For right now, let's presume that that can work. Also, I still have... No, I don't. Okay. Beware the weird ads. I just want to check the list here. Creeper isn't on the list. They can. Okay. Okay. If should sprint does not equal is possessed. Sprinting. Okay. I'm curious to see what this is going to look like. This is not going to be perfect, I'm calling it right now, but I'm curious to see what it looks like. Jumping is, of course, the next thing, and I'm fairly certain we are going to have to put in packets for that. Okay. So here's walking normally. Here's sprinting. Oh! Yeah, that's definitely faster. That feels about right. Oh, speedy. Okay, now let me just put this on full so you guys can see a bit better. Out of my cage and feeling just fine. Bye, Jimmy. Okay, we maybe have some tweaking to do there. Although I don't know, does that feel right? I feel like it'll more apparent exactly how wrong or right that is when we're actually in first person with it. Let's see there. But it feels pretty speedy, that's for sure. There we go. That's not us closing the door, by the way. That is, in fact, Jimmy. Okay, that is looking pretty good. So the next thing we need is jumping, which currently Jimmy does not do. And then we need to put ourselves back where Jimmy is, which might cause the earlier problem we had, which was the double shadow being a giveaway. A little bit of Vashtunarada there. But otherwise, we're getting pretty close to functional. At that point, I can probably release a new version, a beta version, probably, allowing people to mess around with this and see what bugs they can find, and there will be bugs, because this is so hacked together. But yeah, that'll be fun. Anyways, that is about all I have time for tonight. I hope you've all enjoyed. My next stream will be on the Thursday with the Wolf Madness crew, either possibly doing another. I'm currently on a big kick in Sea of Thieves to get through the For the Damned 25 times. I'm like 7 or so left, I think. So here's hoping it's sometime soon. I want my Ghost Flame set. Then on Saturday we should have the carousel back. We probably still won't have a new episode of Clockwork and Memory out. Unfortunately, Nipty is away until I think end of this week or so. Which wouldn't have been a problem, except that some of his footage, or commentary rather, for the episode is very corrupted and probably needs to be reshot. So, can't finish the episode until Nipty gets back, I'm afraid. There was going to be delays to the finale for the same reason, but it was unforeseen that this particular episode would need some reshoots. But oh well. So be it. These things happen. But we will, nonetheless, still have games with the patrons. Otherwise, any videos I happen to make are over at youtube.com/numbercomic, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever